I held my best friend as a kid. He was in my arms as he passed away. You know? I seen him get shot 16 times. You know, and I held him until he took his last breath. You know?
All right, CJ.
Yes.
CJ, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Well, I'm originally born and raised in South Florida. The age of like 17, I wound up moving from Florida to California.
Tell me about your childhood.
Well, it's pretty interesting. My parents were divorced before I was even born, so I did a lot of floating around. I would go back and forth between, mom and dad. My dad was, I guess you say, a mess as me growing up. He was heavily involved with drugs. So most of my time was spent with my mother and my stepfather. I didn't really know my dad all that well. I wound up getting in trouble at a young age. At 16, I caught a juvenile life. Thank God I did. I wound up coming home on an appeal, and I won. I didn't serve my full time, but after that, I guess they say, you fall right under what your parents do. I came home and I started doing the exact same thing that my father did. So I started getting involved with drugs, and just from there, it was a whirlwind of things.
The juvenile life was for murder?
It was for attempted murder.
Hmm. And the drugs you started using were what?
So my father was very involved with the Mexican Mafia. I started moving cocaine from South Florida to go to LA at the age of 16. We would drive it from here to there.
That means you dropped out of high school?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I did. I think I was in 9th grade. Yeah, 9th grade is when I said, you know what, I'm cool.
What kind of money were you making driving cocaine?
I guess, well, for the time, I mean, I was making great money for a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. I'm making $10,000 a ride. So I would raise my hand anytime they said something was moving. I was there raising my hand. And that wound up getting me in trouble as well later on in life, It's giving a kid that much money was not a good idea.
A rich 16-year-old doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, you can say that again. And then I started using drugs as well. So, upon me taking it out here, I was using it on the entire way out here. So, and two, we tried our best not to make any stops. So that helped as well. Just get loaded and just go. Don't look back. So around the age of, I think I was 21. Yeah, 21. I caught another case that got me another good chunk of time. And after that, come home, and I just continued to follow in my dad's footsteps, which was horrible. I never got a grasp of myself until just recently. My life was a whirlwind of things. And just now, I'm 36 years old, just now getting a hold of myself. So it's been a hell of a ride.
You've been staying on the streets for a while?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, I guess you say. I'm not, I mean, I'm out, cause I don't.
You've been involved in the streets.
Yeah.
I see that 18 on your neck, and I know.
Yeah, I'm from 18th Street, which was a whole other thing.
Tell me how that happened.
Well, my dad is Joey Valentino, he's a big homie for the Mexican Mafia for 18th Street. So.
You sure you want to name his name?
That's all right. Me and him are all right. He's done all kinds of books and stuff, so they know who he is. I wanted to fill my dad's shoes. I wanted to have those shoes so bad. I guess as a kid, you see like the limelight that he had, and the females, the money, and everything. And as a kid, growing up in that, I seen it and I wanted that for some reason. I just wanted it. And then they took my dad at a young age too. At 17, they got him, and he's been gone ever since. So
what's he doing today?
He's doing life in the feds. They cracked him, and he was bye-bye. But, like I said, I tried to fill those shoes as best as I could, And in an instance, I guess you could say that I didn't really have a choice. It was, hey, you got to put these shoes on. So I put them on, and I tried the best I could. And I think it was probably the dumbest thing I could ever have done, And I just had recently had another kid, so I just looking back and looking at it now, and like, I guess you could say that it's a very true statement that wisdom comes with age. I never thought in a million years that I would, for one, even still be here. I'm appalled to even be sitting here talking to you. I'm glad to be alive at this age. I never thought I'd live to be this, 36, 37 years old.
What kind of crazy things you're getting into that you think you wouldn't be here?
Well, over time, people start to, especially in the game, people start to hear your name. I don't know how many times I've been shot at. I've been shot. Somebody tried to blow up my car. I've been robbed. I've been robbed a few times. So it's been, and not, like I said, not to mention, I'm from West Side 18th Street. Everybody hates us. We are not a liked gang at all. So
you like the adrenaline?
I did, most certainly did. I think that is an addiction in itself. Is that and I don't know. I think, like I said, throughout time, it's just you realize, like, man, I don't want to do this my entire life. What the hell is this? It's you can't walk. Every time I come out of my house, I gotta look both ways. Turn around and look. That is not something that you want to continue to do for the rest of your life. It's a pain in the ass. And then not to mention, I have a kid. I have a wife. So and she don't want anything to do with that either. My wife just did 22 years straight too. So she doesn't want nothing to do with anything or being involved with any of that. She's, like I said, she just did 22 years straight.
She's trying to walk a straight path now?
Yeah. Yep. And she made it clear as day. If that's what I was going to be doing, I'd be doing it alone. And I'm not willing to do that. So
you're trying to straighten up too?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell certain people things like no, for instance. It's a long, slow process of getting out of that, I guess you could say.
Removing yourself from a gang like 18th Street has got to be tough.
Yeah, not necessarily just 18th Street. It's the Emmett is, you don't really tell them no. That's not something that they generally like to hear. So, I don't generally want to piss them off, because they're not nice people, per se. So, but throughout time, I've like I said, I've done. Unfortunately, I've done a lot.
You done prison time?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just did 9 years 8 months on my last bid.
What was that for?
Money laundering, possession, and sent to a cell, crossing state lines with, distributing drugs. I got a couple of straps involved with it, and that's it. So I actually was extremely lucky to get the time that I got, because for one, the feds wanted to take me, which, thank God for my attorney. I was smart. I took the first deal I could just to get out of there, just so I could avoid the feds, because I did not want to go to the feds. So I jumped on the first state anything, just to avoid that, because the feds, you're doing all your time. You're doing 85% of it, and that's, they show no love. It's just, And in state, you got a lot of times, like I did, my sentence was 15 with 85. When I got there, I got the 85 dropped down to 80, which then the 80 dropped down to 66. So I got a huge time cut, and going in there, if you go in there and you know that this is what you're doing, you have to do good. Like I did all my class, NAAA, all them classes. So I got, I got a bunch of time knocked off, which was cool. And I did good in prison, because my very first term, oh my God, it was a mess. And then my second term, me coming in, me knowing the ropes and things like that, and I was like, I'm cool. I'm gonna go over here this time, and I did good. I was actually proud of myself. I got 2 degrees while I was in there. So it was good.
But what were the drugs you were using?
I would use a little bit of everything. My main drug of choice was probably ecstasy. Yeah, I like the party scene. The party scene was my thing, and plus I said I grew up in South Florida, so that was the thing to do, I guess.
How often do you see you have one child?
Well, I got 2. I just had one about a year. He is a year and a half. Actually, he's almost 2 years old. Yeah, he's almost 2. But my first child was a girl, and she's gonna be 15. We're about to have her quinceañera this year. And then, like I said, I have my son, he's about to be 2. I see him all the time. I have him all the time. My daughter, she's not very fond of me. I wasn't really there, I guess you could say.
You're married to one woman, but you're having kids with another, right?
Yo, yeah, no, my wife, that's our son. But my ex-wife was one of my daughter. Yeah. Okay. And I was involved in her life. I just wasn't really there, and now that she's older, she sees that and she knows that. And she really doesn't want much to do with me. She knows she knew I gangbanged. She knew I was, heavily involved with drugs and that whole scene. She wasn't, which actually, I could say that I'm actually glad that, she wasn't around for most of my life, because my life was a mess, dude. I could barely take care of myself. Do I look like...
You would have been a bad influence on her?
Oh my God, yeah. 100%. 100%. I was not ready for a kid at all. I just, I came out here right before, because I have a little brother, and we came out here right before he enlisted in the Army, and that's when I ran into this girl. I mean, I barely knew this chick. We came out here to party before my brother went in the Army, and I ran into this girl, and I don't know, I was with her for like a month straight and had a little fling and got her pregnant. So that was a whole other cha-cha. But, I wanted to be there for my kid. I didn't want to just say, oh no, and shun her off and go about my business. I wanted to be in her life, but I was not ready to be at all. Like I said, I was involved with a lot of bad things and bad people, and God forbid something happened to my kid, that'd have been all bad, and that's what I was afraid of. That's why I kind of shoved them to the side. You know, and over time, you know, I'm sure she asked a lot of questions, and I'm sure her mom and her grandparents gave them her the answers. I think that's why she doesn't really care too much about me. But, you know, what can I do? Just wait. I could just wait for her. One day, I'm pretty sure she'll want some answers, and hopefully I can give them to her.
If you had your life to live all over again, what would you have done differently?
You know what? You want me to be honest? Nah, not much. Not much. I think my main thing would be, you know, my kid being involved in her life, you know, being dad, you know. But like I said, I wasn't ready to be dad, you know. I could barely take care of myself, let alone take care of a kid, you know. So I think if I were to change one thing, it would be, you know, being a dad to my daughter would probably be the biggest one.
It seems like everything you're doing or you've done is kind of like outside the law.
Oh, yeah.
You've ever had a straight job?
Yeah, actually.
What have you done?
Yeah. Well, both my grandfathers own businesses in South Florida. One owns an air conditioning company, and the other one owns a pool company. So I did air conditioning and I did pools when I was younger for a little while.
But smuggling cocaine is more exciting.
Oh, yeah. And pays a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say no to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, South Florida and even LA, it's expensive out here, man. So doing pools wasn't cutting it. Mm-hmm. And nor was it any kind of fun. You know, and I like I said, I was a junkie. I loved getting high. I loved it. And I think that was the stronghold of my life was drugs. You know?
But there's probably something other than ecstasy you were using.
Oh yeah, I was a garbage can, bro. If it was there, I was doing it. Let's go. You know, I had a rule of thumb. I'll try anything one time. And I guess drugs, a lot of them. I tried more than once. But that was, you know, my problem. I liked getting high. A big issue in my life. I think now, you know, I'm older. You know, I don't want to say I'm sober. I still get high, but I don't use, you know, heavy drugs. I mean, I smoke weed, and that's about it now.
What are you afraid of now? What do you worry about?
What am I afraid of? I don't know. That's a good question. What am I afraid of? Besides God? I don't know. There's not much out there that I could say I'm afraid of.
What would you say is your greatest strength?
My greatest strength? Now? That I think twice, man. That I'm actually using my brain now. I think things through, you know, as opposed to spontaneous jump on it, let's go. You know, now I know why they say, you know, throughout ages wisdom, you know, you think things through. You know, I think about something before I do it, you know.
Were you more self-destructive before that?
Oh my God, I should have been the front page of it. Dude, I mean, I was a mess, dude. I mean, you just me telling you, I mean, if you, and let somebody else tell you, you'd be like, they would tell you. I was a hot mess, dude, a hot mess. And then, like I said, being involved with the people I was involved with, you know, I got in trouble a lot, you know. I was always getting DP'd for being stupid or, you know, being loud. You know, my nickname is Rowdy, for instance, so I didn't get that nickname for no reason. So, yeah, it was.
What are you doing for money now?
No, nothing illegal. I was halfway smart, I guess. I put away a lot of money in my time. I put away a cool little chunk, you know. And I was always taught that, you know, having my dad would call it a nest egg. He said, you better feed that thing every time you get something. And, I put away a cool amount of little money. And when I got out of prison this last time, I started dipping in it, 'cause I didn't know what I was gonna do, for one, because again, once you're involved in things, there's no, you can't really tell them no. So I've taken things slow, and I don't know. I guess you could say I'm just trying to live life on the other side of the fence now. I'm not too worried about work or whatever it is. Like I said, I have a new kid in my life now. This time, I'm gonna do it right. I'm not gonna run off and leave them in the dust. So I have a second chance at actually raising my child. So
that's good.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
And all your years of debauchery and craziness, what's the wildest story you've got?
Oh man, I mean,
you don't need to name any names.
Crazy story. I mean, you gotta elaborate on what am I allowed to say and what am I not allowed to say? Am I allowed to get detailed here?
Yeah, you can say anything you want.
Oh wow. Okay, so in South Florida, I don't know if you guys know, the Haitians, dude, they are some of the most crazy people on the planet. They have no sense of a brain. Some of these dudes, they're just insane, And I got one guy that was a regular. He was a regular customer for us, 2, maybe even 3 times a month. He would get a whole kilo, call me, come through, the bags in the same spot, grab it, and then come to the house. And I'll never forget, one day I'm coming, and I have my stepbrother with me. I have my brother with me, and then I have a couple of my homies with me. And we're pulling in, and I'm noticing that there's, a lot of cars in the driveway. I'm like, oh, okay, this is weird. So, we go inside, we come in, they greet us, how you doing? We're walking through the house, and this dude has a house the size of Texas. This thing is humongous. So we're walking through the living room, we're going into the second house out in the back. And we walk in, and there's some guy sitting in a chair, fully duct taped up, and I'm looking at him over, I'm like, oh God, what we got going on here? And he tells me, Rowdy, do you mind giving me a second? I gotta handle this, He's like, you guys go sit over here. Go sit over there and let me handle this real quick. Well, as we're sitting over here, we're realizing that, okay, this guy took a pack and he never paid. So he keeps telling this gentleman, telling him, where's my money at? Where's my money? Where's my money? I'm gonna give you a couple more shots here to answer my question. And then as throughout the time, when we first got there, his wife comes in and gives the man a drink, and he makes this dude eat this pill. We're not knowing what it is or whatever, and so I'm looking at my brother like, oh my God, dude, what are we doing here? Are we next? Do we pay him? And sure enough, she gave this dude a couple Viagra's, and he ate them. And about a half an hour later, here comes in one of the little escort chicks, and she keeps telling this dude, where's my money at? Where's my money? Where's my money? And he is not answering. He's, I don't know, I don't have it, I don't know. Here comes his wife. You ever had shish kebabs? Oh yeah, the nice long shish kebab stick. Oof. Well, here his wife comes with one of these shish kebab sticks, and this dude is sitting in the chair, butt naked, with some chick playing with him, and she takes that shish kebab stick right inside of his pee hole. It says, if you don't give me my money, this is gonna go all in. Sure enough, he didn't answer, and this lady shoved that thing, and I kid you not, I've never heard a man scream for his life like that. Oh God. That was probably one of the most treacherous things I've ever seen. And I'm looking at my brother, and we're looking at each other like, oh my God, dude, are we next? Like, what is going on here? And he, at the end, he apologized. He's like, I apologize that you had to see that, but, again, make sure that you guys tell the streets this. These fucking people want to come in here and play with me. They'll be next in that chair. And, oh my God, dude. Let's just say I never did business with him ever again. We're done.
And his wife did it to him.
His wife did it. I said, oh my God. Like, I got good. Look at my hair sticking up on that. Dude, that was the most treacherous thing I've ever seen in my life, dude. And I mean, I've seen some shit, dude. But that was one for the record books, bro. It was, oof.
The drug underworld is crazy.
Yeah, it was not cool. And right now, like I said, I mean, I've seen some things, man. You know, I held my best friend as a kid. He was in my arms as he passed away. You know, I seen him get shot 16 times. You know, and I held him till he took his last breath. You know, I was, you know, I thank God, bro, that I'm still alive. You know, like I said, I've been shot at, I've been stabbed, I've been shot myself. You know, gangbanging is, well, now it's not, but back in the day, you know, gangbanging was crazy. Nowadays, it's stupid. All these kids nowadays, they don't know what the heck they're doing. Gangbanging ain't what it used to be either. That's why, you know, a lot of us are we try to push it to the side. And we don't want nothing to do with this crap. All these kids nowadays are they're stupid. You know, they don't have the morals that we had. You know, they didn't grow up, you know, having to walk that straight line, you know. The discipline that we had is definitely not implemented into the streets nowadays. It's a freaking mess, dude.
CJ, let me ask you one last question. What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Wow, that's a heck of a question, dude. What's the most important lesson? Dude, I have no idea. That's a hard question.
Maybe you haven't learned anything yet.
Oh, that's a good answer. Man. Yeah, I would have to honestly really think that through.
You're still young. You'll probably learn something in the next 15 years.
Man, yeah, that you know what? I even when I leave, I'm gonna ponder that myself. Cause that's a good question. You know, it's sad to say that I can't answer that like that, but I don't know. I really don't. I don't know if I could honestly answer you.
Maybe next time you come in.
Yeah, that would be something. I am gonna ponder that though. That's food for thought right there. What have I learned in my lifetime?
Cool. All right, CJ.
That's a good question.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
Wish you lots of luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
When I was designing the first Soft White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.